The knock came at 9:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. 3 hard, deliberate raps that sliced through the hum of the dishwasher and the low volume of the television my wife was pretending to pay attention to. It wasn't the casual knock of a neighbor or a package delivery. It was precise, intentional. I dried my hands on a dish towel and walked to the door, already feeling something shift in the air. When I opened it, a woman I'd never seen before stood on the porch. Mid-30s, blonde hair pulled back so tightly it made her features look sharper, eyes swollen and red like she'd cried herself raw. She clutched a thick manila folder against her chest, stuffed so full it bent in the middle. "Are you Nathan?" she asked, her voice unsteady but controlled, like she was holding herself together by force. "Yeah," I said slowly. "Can I help you?" She didn't respond right away. Instead, her eyes moved past me into the house. My wife Lisa had stepped into the hallway, her expression already draining of color before a single word was said. "You're Lisa," the woman said, not asking, accusing. Lisa's voice shrank to something barely audible. "Who are you?" The woman let out a short, broken laugh that carried no humor at all. "I'm Claire," she said, "and I think we need to talk about my husband." She opened the folder and the first photograph slipped free, catching the porch light as it fell. My wife. A man I didn't recognize. A restaurant I absolutely did. His hand resting high on her thigh beneath the table. The timestamp was clear. March 14, 7:43 p.m. The same night Lisa had texted me that she'd be working late on a presentation. Claire's voice wavered but didn't break. "That's my husband, David." She lifted the folder slightly like she was presenting evidence to a jury. "And according to this, he's been sleeping with your wife for 8 months. Behind me, Lisa made a strangled sound, like the air had been knocked from her lungs. Claire looked at me with the kind of understanding that only comes from shared devastation. "I have 847 text messages, hotel invoices, GPS records from his car, Venmo payments, a detailed timeline that lines up perfectly with every single night your wife said she was out with her friends." She pressed the folder into my hands. "I spent 6 weeks building this. I hired someone. I cross-referenced everything. And now I'm giving it to you because neither of us deserves to live inside this lie. If you want to know what was in that folder and what I did with it, hit subscribe because what happened next destroyed 2 marriages and exposed a lie so elaborate it had its own paper trail. My name is Nathan Cross. I'm 39 years old and I live in Austin, Texas. I work as a systems engineer for a tech company downtown. 3 days a week I work from home, 2 days I commute into the office. I followed the same routine for 7 years without deviation. I like structure. I like predictability. Wake up at 6:30, coffee while checking overnight emails, stand-up meeting at 9, lunch at my desk, wrap up by 5:30, dinner with my wife, a show on Netflix, bed by 11. It might sound dull to some people, but to me it felt stable. Stability felt safe. Lisa is a marketing director at a healthcare startup. She's ambitious, driven, always chasing the next milestone. She answers emails at midnight, takes calls during dinner. We've been married 6 years, together for 9. We don't have kids yet. We'd talked about it more than once, but every time the conversation circled back to timing. "Let me get through this promotion cycle first," she'd say, "then we'll try." I trusted her. I trusted everything she said. The name David Keller first surfaced about 8 months ago. Casual mention while we were cooking dinner one night. "There's a new guy at work," she said, slicing bell peppers. "David. He's leading the rebrand initiative." I nodded, barely paying attention. "He's sharp, came from Google. He's got big ideas." Over the following weeks, his name kept appearing in conversation. David suggested this, David recommended that. David and I grabbed lunch to discuss the deck. David thinks we need to pivot the messaging. At first, I didn't think twice. I wasn't the jealous type. I believed in trust. That was my first mistake. By February, the late nights became routine. Staying late to wrap up a presentation, she'd text. "David and I are refining the strategy. Don't wait up." 10 o'clock turned into 11. 11 into midnight. sometimes 1 in the morning. When she came home, she smelled of wine layered over a cologne that definitely wasn't mine. "How was it?" I asked. "Long, draining, I'm exhausted. No details, no anecdotes, just distance." I convinced myself it was pressure from work. Promotions demand sacrifice. That's what I told myself. But there's a quiet voice in every man that whispers when something isn't right. Mine was starting to whisper. I began noticing small shifts. Her phone never left her hand. It followed her into the bathroom. It angled away from me on the couch. She dressed differently for work. More fitted clothes, subtle but deliberate makeup, new perfume. "Big presentation?" I'd joke. "Yeah," she'd reply quickly. Except there seemed to be a big presentation 3 times a week. In March, I asked her directly if we were okay. She looked at me like I'd spoken another language. "Of course we are. I'm just busy." The conversation ended there. The so-called girls' nights started in April. "Sarah and Jan need a break. We're going out." She'd leave at 7, return at 1 in the morning, smelling of alcohol and something heavier. Weeks later at a barbecue, I casually mentioned one of these nights to Sarah. Her confusion lasted half a second too long before she recovered. That was when suspicion hardened into certainty. I didn't confront Lisa. Instead, I documented. I built a spreadsheet. Dates, excuses, departure times, return times, behavioral notes. Patterns formed quickly. Late work nights always fell on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Girls' nights were Fridays. And every night she came home after midnight, she showered immediately, no matter how tired she claimed to be. Data doesn't lie. But I wanted more than patterns. I wanted confirmation. So I made a decision I'm not proud of. I installed a location tracking app on her phone. Not texts, not calls, just GPS data. It took less than 2 minutes while she showered one Sunday morning. The first alert came that Tuesday. She left for work. Normal. At 12:15 p.m., her location shifted not to a nearby lunch spot, but to the Fairmont downtown. She stayed 2 hours, returned to the office. That evening, she texted she was working late. At 10:15 p.m., her location pinged at the Fairmont again. She stayed until nearly 1 in the morning. When she came home, she kissed my forehead and apologized for the crazy day. I logged the data. Over the next 3 weeks, the pattern repeated with mechanical precision. Tuesdays and Thursdays at the Fairmont, Fridays at a bar on Rainy Street. Sarah and Jen never appeared in the background of social media posts because they weren't there. Lisa wasn't just lying. She was maintaining an entirely separate life. I lay awake at night listening to her breathe beside me, wondering who she had been with hours earlier. The betrayal wasn't just physical, it was theatrical. She played the role of loving wife perfectly, and I watched, gathering proof. I didn't confront her because I knew she would deny everything without undeniable evidence. Then came the knock. 9:47 p.m., Tuesday, May 16th. I was loading plates into the dishwasher. Lisa was on the couch scrolling. 3 sharp knocks. I opened the door and saw Claire Keller for the first time. I didn't know her name yet, but I knew from her face that my life had just intersected with hers in the worst possible way. "Are you Nathan?" she asked, trembling. "Yeah." She peered past me. "Is your wife home?" Lisa stepped into view. Claire's jaw tightened. "You're Lisa?" Lisa froze in place. "Who are you?" Claire's expression hardened. "I'm Claire, David's wife." The room seemed to shrink. Lisa's color drained instantly. She began. "Don't," Claire snapped. "Don't lie." She stepped inside, holding up the folder. "I know everything." She turned to me. "Nathan, you deserve the truth." She opened the folder fully this time. Photographs spilled onto the coffee table in a cascade. Lisa and a man I'd never seen before. Dark hair, tailored suit, a confidence that made me sick to look at. Smiling like he had nothing to lose. They were at a restaurant, his hand on her thigh. Another photo. Same restaurant, different night. They were kissing. Another. Dozens of them. Timestamps, locations, dates going back 8 months. I felt like I was watching a car crash in slow motion.
Claire kept pulling papers out. "Text messages," she said, dropping a stack on the table. 847 of them. I printed every single one. I picked up the top page. "David, I can't stop thinking about you." Lisa, "Same. When can I see you again?" David, "Thursday, usual place." Lisa, "Perfect. I'll tell Nathan I'm working late." My hands started shaking. Claire continued. "Hotel receipts? Fairmont mostly, but also the W in that boutique place on South Congress." She dropped another stack. "Venmo transactions. He paid for dinners, she paid for drinks. They tried to be careful, but they weren't careful enough." Another stack. "GPS data from his car. I tracked him for 6 weeks. Every location matches a work event or client meeting he told me about." She looked at Lisa, who was standing frozen in the hallway, tears streaming down her face. "You want to know the worst part?" Claire's voice cracked. "I'm pregnant. 4 months." The room went silent. "I'm carrying his child, and he's been you in hotel rooms while I'm at home planning a nursery." I couldn't speak, couldn't move. Claire turned back to me. "I found out 3 weeks ago. I hired a private investigator. Cost me $8,000 because I needed proof, because David's a liar. And I knew if I confronted him without evidence, he'd twist it around." She tapped the folder. "This is 6 weeks of surveillance. Photos, videos, financial records, phone logs, everything. I confronted him 2 days ago, showed him everything. He tried to deny it at first. Then he tried to minimize it. It didn't mean anything. It was just physical. I love you, not her." Her voice turned to ice. "I kicked him out, filed for divorce yesterday, and now I'm here because you deserve to know what I know." She looked at Lisa. "And you deserve to face what you've done." Lisa finally found her voice. "Claire, I'm so sorry. I never meant—" "You never meant to my husband? You never meant to help him lie to me for 8 months? You never meant to destroy my family? I didn't know you were pregnant. Would it have mattered? Would you have stopped if you'd known?" Lisa didn't answer. Claire turned to me. "I'm giving you this." She pushed the folder into my hands. "Everything's in there, organized by date. I made copies. One for you, one for my lawyer, one for me." "Why?" I asked, voice barely working. "Because we are the victims here, and we deserve to have the truth. All of it." She headed for the door, then stopped, looked back at Lisa. "I hope it was worth it." And then she was gone. The door closed.
The silence that followed was deafening. I stood there, holding the folder, staring at my wife. Lisa was crying, mascara running, hands shaking. "Nathan, please let me explain." "Explain?" My voice didn't sound like mine. "Explain what? The 847 text messages? The hotel receipts? The 8 months of lying to my face? It wasn't like that." "Then what was it like?" I set the folder down on the coffee table, because from where I'm standing, it looks like you've been another man for 8 months, while I sat here like an idiot, believing every lie you told me. I didn't mean for it to happen, but it did happen, over and over, for 8 months. She reached for me. I stepped back. "Don't touch me." I picked up the folder and started going through it. Every page was a knife. Text messages where she called him baby, photos of them holding hands, a receipt from a jewelry store. He'd bought her a bracelet. $800. I'd never seen her wear it. "Where's the bracelet?" I asked. "What?" "The bracelet. The one he bought you in March. Where is it?" Her face crumpled. I returned it." "When?" "Last week." "Why?" "Because I was going to end it," she whispered. "I swear I was going to end it." I laughed. It came out harsh, broken. "You were going to end it when? After another month? Another year?" "I didn't know how." "You didn't know how to stop him?" My voice rose. "It's pretty simple, Lisa. You just stop. You stop texting him. You stop meeting him at hotels. You stop lying to me." She sobbed. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." "Sorry you did it, or sorry you got caught?" She didn't answer. That told me everything.
I spent that night in a hotel, not the Fairmont. I couldn't stomach the idea of staying in the same place she'd been with him. I checked into a Holiday Inn off 535 and sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the folder. 847 text messages. I started reading. Every message was worse than the last. The way she talked to him, the things she said, the plans they made. Lisa, I wish I could wake up next to you every morning. David, soon, I promise. Lisa, how much longer do we have to keep pretending? David, not long, I'm working on it. They were planning a future, while I was at home working, paying bills, believing we were building a life together. She was planning to leave me for him. I didn't sleep that night. I read every text message, looked at every photo, studied every receipt. Claire had been thorough, obsessively thorough. She'd built a timeline that was impossible to deny. Every work event Lisa claimed to attend matched a hotel check-in. Every girls' night matched a bar receipt where she'd split the bill with David. Every lie had a timestamp. By 4 a.m., I'd read it all, and I'd made a decision. I called a lawyer at 8 a.m. His name was Richard Moss. A friend of a friend had recommended him. Bulldog in the courtroom, they'd said. Doesn't lose. I met him at his office at 10. I brought the folder. Richard went through it methodically. Didn't react, didn't comment, just read. After 30 minutes, he looked up. This is the most well-documented affair I've ever seen. Claire did all the work, I said. I just have the copies. She's smart. This is admissible. All of it. What does that mean? It means in Texas, we're a fault-based divorce state. Adultery is grounds, and with this evidence, you've got an airtight case. He leaned back. You could go for a contested divorce, ask for a disproportionate share of assets. She'd have a hard time fighting it. What about alimony? She makes more than you, right? Yeah, about 20% more. Then she won't get alimony. In fact, you could ask for it. I blinked. Seriously? Seriously? You're the wrong party. She committed adultery. The court tends to favor the faithful spouse. For the first time in 12 hours, I felt something other than pain. I felt power. Richard walked me through the process. File a petition, serve her papers, discovery, mediation, trial if necessary. But here's my advice, he said. Use this evidence as leverage. Most people don't want their affair details aired in open court. Offer her a clean split if she agrees to your terms. What terms? You keep the house, she takes her car, her retirement accounts, and walks away. No alimony, no fighting. And if she refuses, then we go to trial, and we make sure every detail of this affair becomes public record. I thought about that, about Lisa's career, her reputation, her family, about how much she'd lose if this went public. Let's start with the offer, I said, but I want her to know what happens if she fights me. Richard smiled. I can work with that. I went home that afternoon. Lisa was there. She'd clearly been crying. The house was a mess, tissues everywhere. Nathan, she said the second I walked in, please, we need to talk. We do, I agreed. I set my bag down, but not the way you think. I pulled out the divorce papers Richard had drawn up. Her face went white. You're filing? I already filed. These are your copies. She took them with shaking hands, started reading. Nathan, please don't do this. We can fix this. Counseling, therapy, whatever you want. I don't want therapy, I said. I want a divorce. But, Lisa, another man for 8 months. You lied to me every day. You made plans to leave me. This isn't fixable. She dropped the papers. I wasn't going to leave you. I swear, it was just what? Just fun? Just physical? Just a mistake that lasted 240 days? She had no answer. I picked up the papers and set them on the table. You have 2 options. Sign these, agree to the terms, walk away clean. Or we go to trial, and every text message, every photo, every hotel receipt becomes public record.
Your family will know, your coworkers will know, everyone will know. Her face crumpled. You wouldn't try me. She signed the papers 3 days later. No fight, no negotiation, just a signature and a quiet exit. I kept the house, she took her car and her retirement accounts. No alimony, no drama, clean break. The divorce was finalized in 60 days, fastest I'd ever heard of. I ran into Claire a few weeks after everything was final. She was at a coffee shop near my office. Pregnant belly showing now. "Nathan," she said, surprised. "Claire, how are you?" She smiled. "Tired, but real. Better. The divorce is almost done. David's, well, he's David, but I'm moving forward." "Good. How about you?" "Same. Moving forward." We stood there for a moment, two people who'd been through the same hell. "Thank you," I said, "for knocking on my door, for giving me the truth." "You deserved it," she said simply. "We both did." She touched her belly. "I'm having a girl." "Congratulations." "Thanks. I'm terrified, but also excited, like this is a fresh start." "It is," I said. She smiled. "Take care of yourself, Nathan." "You too." She walked away, and I realized something. Claire had lost a husband, but she'd gained her dignity, and so had I. 6 months later, I sold the house. Too many memories, too many ghosts. I bought a condo downtown, smaller, simpler, mine. I started running again, joined a gym, reconnected with friends I'd lost touch with. Slowly, I started to feel like myself again. One night, I was at a bar with some coworkers, just a casual Friday thing. A woman sat down next to me, red hair, bright smile. "Is this seat taken?" "It's yours," I said. Her name was Emma. She was a graphic designer, funny, smart, easy to talk to. We talked for 2 hours. At the end of the night, she gave me her number. "Call me sometime," she said. I did. I'm not going to pretend everything's perfect now. I still have bad days. Days where I wonder what I did wrong. Days where I replay the last 8 months and look for signs I missed. But those days are getting fewer, because I learned something through all of this. You can't control other people's choices. You can only control your response. Lisa chose to cheat, to lie, to betray me. I chose to face the truth, to protect myself, to walk away with my dignity intact. And that choice made all the difference. If you've been there, if you've ever heard, "He's just a friend," or "You're being paranoid," or "It's not what you think," this one's for you. Trust your gut, document everything, and don't be afraid to walk away from someone who doesn't respect you, because the truth always comes out. Sometimes it knocks on your door at 9:47 p.m. with a folder full of proof. And when it does, you have a choice. You can ignore it, or you can face it. I faced it, and I'm better for it. Hit subscribe if this story resonated. Comment, "I faced it,"